Sometimes when you need to travel through flights, you have flexible dates between this particular date to this particular date, and sometimes you are looking for the cheapest flight, the fastest flight, and so on and so forth. Now in this project we are going to be learning how to scrap the details of flights between a particular period within this a particular period, and then use that, analyze that details to get something like this where you can get the cheapest flight, analyze the details to get the cheapest flights, and to see all the duration, the flights and the likes. And then also you can also analyze it if it's you are looking for the fastest flight within the specified date that you have specified. You can also analyze it. So what we are going to be doing in this project is to learn how to use Python to scrap the web to get cheap flights, and then use our data analysis skill to analyze the data to our taste, either to get the cheapest or to get the fastest. Or you can also do a combination of, okay, I want the cheapest, I want the fastest, and that is what we are going to be doing in this project. So to start, we are going to be using VS Code as our code editor. You can use any code editor of your choice, but I am going to be using VS Code. So I just create a folder, then create the file name. In this case, I call it web scraper. So I will then open a terminal to install the necessary packages that I'm going to be needing. However, you need to create a virtual environment, which is not compulsory, just that when you are working like that, it's always good to have your virtual environment so that anything you install will be limited to this particular web, but to this particular folder. So I'll go ahead to create my virtual environment, and to create your virtual environment, all you need to do is to run Python. This case I'm using venv, also called the virtual environment venv. So you can see that the virtual environment has been created here. So after which I'll then go ahead to start it once it's finished loading. So now that I have that, I'll just run source venv script activate. So you can see that the venv has been activated. So we are going to be using two major tools, and those tools are Selenium, which we are going to be using to simulate the, as if we are using our browser, and but it will be Python that will be working on the browser for us. So, and the second one we are going to be using to face our HTML is the BeautifulSoup. So we are going to be installing those two packages. We are going to be going pip install Selenium, and we are also going to be using BS4, which is BeautifulSoup. So wait for that to install, and now once they are finished installing, you can then come to your code and start by importing WebDriver from Selenium. Import WebDriver, after which you also import BeautifulSoup from BS4. Import BeautifulSoup. So we are going to be needing CSV because we are going to be writing the information that we scrape from the web to a CSV file. So we are going to be using CSV. We're also going to be needing date time. We import CSV. We are also going to be needing date time from date time, and we are also going to be needing to evaluate two time, like subtract the start time to the end time. So for that, we are going to be using time data. Now to start, you need to first create the driver. In this case, I am going to be using webdriver.chrome. I want to use my Chrome browser. So I don't forget, we like if you are thinking of traveling within a particular dates, like maybe from January 1 to January 31, and you want to look for the most suitable flight for you, this is what we are doing. So we are going to be setting the start date, which will be date time. Let us set it to 2025, maybe February 10. Okay, let's just do March, and then set it to date to be 14. So, and also the end date will be, maybe you can just set this to be maybe 20, so that script the flight information between 14 to 20 for you. And also the current date, initially we will start with the current date, like the first, we are going to be using loop for this scripting. So the first date that we are going to be starting with is this current date. So we are going to be now use the while loop to be iterating the scripting, so that after scripting the current date, it increase, go to the next date, it increase, go to the next date, till it gets to this end date. This is the website that we are going to be using for our scripting, and we are going to be, let's just assume you want to search for flights. So let's say you are going from Cairo, for example, and then you are going to London, whichever one. Let's say you are going for one way, and you can just pick any date. So I can get this is just meant for you to get the URL. So instead of having to look at this date, go to the next date, you can just use your Python skill to automate this boring task, to scrape this information for you, then go ahead to do the analysis all by yourself. So once you have this, then you can see, so you just go ahead to copy the URL so that you know what it looks like when you're searching for information. So you can then come back to your VS Code. So you then keep the URL that you have copied here, you then keep it here. So let's just keep our URL here. So with this now, you have an idea of what the URL look like. This is where you're going, this is where you're coming from, this is where you're going, this is the dates, this is the year, this is the month, and this is the day. And all this other information, you might not need to disturb yourself too much about them. What you are just concerned about is that you have set the where you're coming from to the destination. All you just need to do is that you need to just run the loop with this particular date. So in order for us to do that, you can see that we have our date time here. So what we need to do is to look at the format of their dates and then format our own dates to suit this particular format. So let's just create a function that will do that for us. So let's create a function, let's call it format date. We are going to be passing date to that function, and all the function will just do for us is just to return date that is being passed to it, and it will return it as a string as a string time. And what will the formats look like? We just want to have the year, and then we want to have the months, and then we want to have the dates, just like you can see here, the year, the months, and then the dates. So after that, this will definitely do the magic for us. So we can then now run this particular URL as a formatted string, and then instead of coding this particular date, we'll just pass the formatted dates to it. So but for now, let's just create our formatted date. So we are going to say formatted date. We just say format date, and then we pass whatever it is that we have as our current date to it. However, we need to now run it as a loop, so that we don't just pick the information for one date, because we are looking at a range of dates, like maybe within the interval of 7 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, and then pick all the information, then run the analysis on that particular set of information. So what we need to do, don't forget that we want to write the information to our CSV file. So we need to start with that first. We need to start with that by opening the CSV file for writing sake. So you need to open the CSV file to write it. So for you to open, what you just to say with open. So what is the name of that CSV file? In our case, let us call it flight data.csv, and then we open it for writing. Then we have new line to be empty as CSV file. So with this, we have opened the CSV file, and then we create the writer, so which will be csv dot writer, and then we pass this CSV file to it. And from there, we also, the writer will write the role. And what will the role look like? This will be the heading of the CSV file. Then from there, we'll now be running the loop. We'll now be adding the information to the sub heading, like as a row. Now for our heading, we actually need some key information. We need the date. Of course, you need the date. You need the airline code. Now if you look at the website that we are working with, you can see that, of course, you have set the date. You also need the airline. Like you can see from this information that they are giving us, you don't have the airline name, they only have the picture. Now if you also run the inspect element, you realize the fact that it's, if you check the image, now you can see that they also do not put the name. Let me see if I can zoom this. I hope this is visible enough. Yeah, so you can see that they don't put the name of the flight there. It's just a code, which is this BA. Now if you check this next flight, you see that this one is MS. So that is to tell you that it is the code of the airline that they are giving us. And also we have the departure time, we also have the arrival time, and we also have the number. Some are direct, while this is with a stop, this is with a stop. Additionally, you also have the stop location, like this will be stopping at ATH, this will be stopping at IST, and so on and so forth. And also you also have the duration, like this is 10 hours 50 minutes, 8 hours 30 minutes, 23 hours 20 minutes, and so on and so forth. And that is the duration, and it also give you the price. So with that, you can then use that information to run and code the heading of your CSV. So you are writing the dates, you are writing the airline code, you are writing the departure time, departure time, departure time, arrival time, arrival time, stops, the number of stops that you're going to be having, and if there's no stop, it will just say not available, maybe 0. Stop locations, the duration, that's the duration of the travel, and also with the one of the most important one, which is the price. So this will be the CSV header. So after you have created the CSV header, don't forget to still have that CSV file open. You still want to write to it. So what do you want to write to it? You want to write the information of the flight to it. This is like the heading of the CSV file. So this is the CSV header. This is the header of the CSV file. So once you have do that, you will now run a loop that will loop through the date and scrap the data. So now you run a loop that take current date, you run a while loop while the current date is less than or equals to end date. So it starts from the first date, then it's running. At the end of this loop, you increase the date, it check if it's less than or equals to the end date. If that is it, it run again, then it continue. If it's still less than or equals to end date, it's run again. So like that and like that. So let me just collapse this for so with that, now you can then now run through this loop, and then this should now be under this loop. The same with the page URL. So once we have that, you can then now say, okay, your formatted date, because don't forget that you need to work with the format of the date that this particular website is giving you. And if you are working with another website, you should also work with the format of their date. And all you just need to do is very simple, just run a sample and see how they format their date in the URL. So we then pass this formatted date, we pass it here, pass it there. So after we have do that, we will then open the page. Don't forget we are using Selenium to like run our browser automatically. So we run the driver to get the page URL. So once the driver get the page URL, it's always advisable for you to wait for the page to load. So I will tell the driver to wait implicitly. Wait for maybe 10 for the browser to load. So I'll then from there, once the page has been successfully loaded, then I'll then get this page source, so which I'll be getting with driver page source. So after which I'll then use BeautifulSoup to face the HTML document. So how do I do that? I'll initialize the BeautifulSoup, then I'll call it and I'll pass the page source to it. This is the page source, I'll pass it to it. And what do I want to do? I want to face the HTML. So now let us come back to our page. Now the information you need is actually this, like this particular container. You need the airline code, you need the departure time, you need the arrival time, you need the if it's direct or indirect or it has stops, you need the time, you also need the price. Now you need to now check your inspect elements. You need to check your inspect elements to know how they structure this particular page. So you just run, let me close this and then say just right click and you come to inspect. So once you inspect, you then come to this inspect and click on this particular box that has the information that you are looking for. So you can just check, so you can see once the box is highlighted, that the box that has all the information you're looking for, you can just maybe close it to study it. So it's always good for you to compare it with others. You can see this is for this. If you move here, it's not there again. It's not there again. That's not what you're actually looking for. So if you come to the next one, which is this, you can see. So watch something now. This is flight ticket container, and when you come to this too, this is flight ticket container MTI1AN. So the same thing, if you come to the next one too, you will see that the box always starts with this particular class, which is flight ticket container MTI1N. So that is what you are going to be leveraging on to get the particular flight container through which you are going to now use to that is what you will now be using to get the other information that you need. So once you have that, so all you just need to do, once BeautifulSoup has been able to help you to fetch the HTML, just get the flight containers, get all the flight containers on that particular page, saying soup.findAll. Find all. What are you finding now? If you look at the particular, you see that it's inside a div. So you are finding a div. So you are finding a div with a class of what now? Don't forget the class which you have copied by you inspecting the particular page. So once with this, we now get you all the flight containers on that particular page. So once you have it, all you just need to do now is now to look through it so that you can pick every information you need in that particular container. So one container stands for one flight, another container stands for another flight. So take one flight, pick all the information you need from there, go to the next one, like that till you get to the last one. So this way, for you to now run through the container that you're able to get, so just say for container in flight containers. So this will look through the entire element in flight containers. So the first thing you need from this your CSV, of course, we are going to be needing our dates. We're going to be needing our dates, but the first thing you need is the airline code, which you can see is very tricky to get. It's very tricky to get, which is this. They actually attach it. If you come to your inspect element again, they attach it to this particular picture. So this is the flight code. The flight code is MX. So all you just need to do is now to say you need to get your airline logo, because it is that logo that you are going to be using to get the flight code. So what you are also looking for here, you are looking for a div, but in this case we are looking for a particular class. So for you to know that class, you can just come and see this is the image that has the source. So you can just copy this class. And then come here to paste it. So once you have that, you can then now check if you're able to get the airline logo. So if you're able to get it, then you should know that the airline code will now be equals to the airline logo dot find. You are finding the image. So to get that, just come and pick the div right before the image. So you can just pick the class, and then place this the div right before the image. Don't forget it is the div that you're looking for, not image. So once you have that, you can then now you need to check the website again, because most of this website, they always change their class regularly. They change the way they format their stuff. So you split. What am I using to split? I'm splitting with slash. So then from there I get the last one, which is using -1. Do I split it again? Now with this, now I will now have the maybe the ms.png. So I will then split it again. So if I split it, what am I using to split? I'm splitting with dots, so that it splits into two: the mx, the airline code, and also the image format. So in this case, I'll just get the first one, which is the one in front. And also I also noticed that there are some airlines that have, like, this will be after you have been able to practice and check how it works. So I noticed that there are some airlines that they don't put their logo, because it is two airlines that they're using. Maybe like one will take you, then they transfer it to another airline. So in that case, they don't use their logo, they use their name. So I'll then use the else statement. So if I check for the airline name, container.find, in this case they represent it with span. So it's always good for you to check the website's format and be sure it works exactly the same way you want it to work. And if it does not, then you can always change it with the code. And once you understand how the code works and how you are able to pick your classes and use the inspect elements, so for those that they represent with name. And also if, so now if you have the airline name, then I'll just say airline code, because the column name is still the same. So just that what you are now using to represent it now is different from. So I'll just get the text and I'll stripe it so that I don't have any space in front and any space at the end. So say equals to, so s I will say the airline code is, so if you check the image is not found and it also check the name is not found, then I can then conclude that it is not available, but most likely it will be available. So once you get this not available value, then you can then go back and check what is wrong. Maybe you inspect again and check again, update the classes, then you will definitely be fine. Now it's time for us to get the departure and the arrival time. Now to get the departure and the arrival time, we come back here where we get the time span. Let's call it time spans. And we also get from the container, this container that we are looping through. So container, we find all the span. Now for you to know the arrival time and the departure time, it's good for us to come back to the website again. So once you come back to the website, this is the departure time and this is the arrival time. So let's start from the departure time. You can see this departure time, this is the span with the class, this class, and the same thing, this arrival time, this is the class. You notice that the two has the same class. The two actually has the same class. So you just pick one of them. It has the same class, so you just pick one of them and just say class is equals to this. Sorry, I should put that in a quote. So that means it will pick, that means this will pick both the departure time and also the arrival time. So you can then check if time spans and the length, or if it exists, and also if its length is, if the length of the value that you're able to get, if it is greater than or equals to 2, then you are sure that you have your departure time. dot find. So what we are finding now is the first span. You are getting the text because that is your time, that is your departure time. But remember to stripe it to take away the space before and the space after. So definitely if the departure time is the first one, then the arrival time is the second one. So the same thing goes here. You can just repeat the code. But now instead of it to now be the first element, it will now be the second element, which is index 1. The first element is index 0, while the second element will be index 1. Don't forget Python is 0 index. So I will then say x. So that means if you don't have the time span, then I can then conclude to say our departure time is not available, and also our arrival time is also not available. So with that, we can then go to the next item, which is the stops that we have. Either it's direct, if it's a direct flight, or if it has stop. So I get the stops text, come to my container again, which is the container that I'm looping through. Span, get the class, so if I have this, so if you check now, you see that the one that is direct has a separate class. This is the span, the one that is direct. So you can just copy the class, copy that class and put the class here. So this is the direct. So you can then check if it has value, if stop text, like I noticed that the stops, the one that is direct flights, the class is different from the one that has stop. So you need to also pay attention to that. So if you have the stop test, then you can then go with the number of stops to be equals to stops text dot, just get the text, but remember to stripe it to clean the space in front and also at the back. So in this case, if it is direct, then you know that you don't have the stop locations. Stop locations is not available. That means there's no stop. So it is direct flight. Direct flight does not have stop. Direct flight does not stop. So now if you don't have that, that means it possibly has some stops. So you can then get the stop test again. In this case, you are finding in the container, the span with the class of this. Now, which class are you looking for? You can then come back to the page again. Let's look for the one that has stop. So this is an example of the one that has stop. You can then bring your class here. So this is an example. This is it. This is one stop, two stop. So you can just copy the class, come back here, put it here. Then once you have that, you can then check if you have it, if stop text. So if you have it, you can then set the number of stop to be equals to stop text, which is the text that you are reading from that span dot text, and also stripe it. So that will give you either one stop, two stop, three stops. So now you also want to know the stop location. Like you can see that they also specify the stop locations here. They specify it as IST, ATH, IST. So this, you specify the stop location. So you also want to get that. So we then say stop locations. Let's initialize it as an empty array, because sometimes it's more than one, sometimes it's two, sometimes it's 1, 2, or 3, depends on the flight. So stop Let's get the element that has the stop location. In this case, we are going with the container again. Container really has quite a lot of work to do, so we are finding all the span, because sometimes more than one, sometimes it's one. So all the class widths, class of, so we are checking the class now. So this particular class, so sometimes it's more than one, so they will put the class as the same. So we just copy the class. So if it's more than one, it will be beside each other. Sorry, I missed that. I go again. I think I erased that. So pick this, the next one. So this is it. So I'll copy the class. So you need to be a bit familiar with HTML to be able to do this. So with that, we then come to our stop locations, which equals to, like, you will find all, like it's sometimes more than one, sometimes two, sometimes three. So you can then find all and then run a loop. So run a loop of the stop. So the iterator will be stop dot text dot stripe for stop in stop element. So what you are doing here, is that you are looping through this stop element, which sometimes more than one, sometimes one. So but if you use this find door, it will definitely return it as an array, so which make it for you to be able to loop through it. So you are looping through it. So stop, you are using stop as your iterator, then you are iterating through stop element. So once you pick one stop, it will then get the text and stripe it. Then you go to the next one, get the text and stripe it and save it inside this array, and set the value, set the array as a stop location. So once you have that, you don't want to return, you don't want to save it to your CSV file as an array, you want to save it as a text. So what you are going to be doing is to join the element of the array using an empty space, because they will definitely return it with comma, with this, with space and the like. So you can just say stop locations is now equals to an empty text to join. So the join, then stop location. So what this will pick the first element, join it to the next one, to the last element. So that we then set your stop location. So but in case you don't have the stop text, then it means that you can conclude that the number of stops, which we flag that something is wrong with the classes, which can then come and troubleshoot the code based on the not available that you get. So that means the number of stops is either not available or the stop locations are unavailable. Now you want to pick the duration. To pick the duration, you come again. Yes, come again under that. So now your duration, which is the hours of the flight, so you go to your container again. Now what you're finding, if you come back to your class, this is the duration here. You can see you are looking for span with this class. Very easy. So span with this particular class, so you are looking for span class this. I think we are getting this. So let's pick the one that is unique. So let's go to use the one that is unique. Let's pick the one that has all this long duration. Because that is the one that is unique. So we are going to be correcting the other ones too. So with that, you can then say if you have your duration, then the flight, you can see that it's actually inside that span element. If you have your duration, the flight duration will be equals to duration dot the text inside the span, then remember to stripe it. That means remove this white space in front and at the back. So we want this to be under the if else. We then set the flight duration to be not available, which we then allow you to come and troubleshoot, because it shows there's a problem, because we must be able to get the flight duration. So we then come to the price, which is also another important element in our analysis. So span, the class of the price, you come back to your page again. This is your price, and you can see this is the span. So you should use the unique one. This is most likely the unique one. So from there you can then set the class. So you can then check if you have your price. If you have your price, then set the flight price. Set the flight price to price dot text dot stripe x. Then the flight price is most likely not available. Now that you have all the information, you should now write the rule to the CSV file. So let's go, let me just copy this, the way the row is, the way the heading, the way we have the heading, so that we'll be able to format it appropriately. So since now we have all the information that we need, I'll just formatted date, airline code. Now you can open this so that we can see our element, the airline code. Also, we need the departure time. We also need the arrival time. We also need the stops, the number of stops. Like you can see from this is what we use for our number of stops. The stops will be number of stops, and also the stop location. The stop location, how do we get the stop location? This is the stop locations. Stop locations. The duration is flight duration. And the price is what is flight price. Flight price. So with that, we can then, after that, then say that the current date plus equals, which means that current date is equals to current date, then add, this is where the dates time delta now comes in, then add one day to it, so that you go to the next day. So but instead of having to repeat the current time date, we can just say plus equals. So once we have that, it then go to the next date, run the loop again if it's not equals to, or if it's still within the end date. So once you get to end date, it will not jump the end date to the next date. So once we have that, we will run through the loop, run everything. Then after then, and then say that and then print to say that data has been successfully saved to, don't forget the file that we are saving into flight data.csv. So this is just to inform the user. So after which you would then need to now close your driver.quit, so that your browser can close and stop working. So once you have this, you can then save, and you will then come to your command line again. You can check, then you should just say Python web scraper. Web scraper.py. So this will bring up your browser automatically. You can see, so it will run the code for you, check the flight information, then pick all the there's an issue with the departure and the arrival time. We picked the wrong class, so just come here and check so that we can put the right class. So let's put this here, and then run the code again. Take note of the correction here. I have to just set the text to stripe here, so that it just pick the text directly instead of now finding the span again. So now that we have that, you can see the browser is saying that we are like running an automated script. So what you can do in this case is to possibly use another browser, and for you to use another browser, all you just need to do is to say from Selenium .webdriver .chrome .service import service. The same, just copy this. Now I want to get that from options, import options. So once I have that, I can then now say at the point of starting the driver, I can just set the Chrome options to be equals to options, and also the Chrome options binary location. You can just go to the program files and check for the location of your other browser, possibly another browser. So you can then now add the argument and set Chrome options, add argument, Chrome options. So let's disable the extensions, and let's also start maximize. And then we pass so instead of having it this way, we can then now pass the options to be equals to Chrome option. So with that, we'll be able to start our application with another browser, since this is saying it with this is. So I'll just run it again. And see, now we are running another browser. So once you have been able to successfully run the script, it will then show the, like, you then have this flight data CSV file in your folder. Then you have this, like, so you can see you have the date, you have the airline code, you have the departure, arrival, stop location, duration, and the price. So we then go ahead now to analyze this data to get the, you can see it takes it like it's somehow much. So like you then need to go and analyze it to get the cheapest and the fastest flight.